This One's Wife. Defamation Despair. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Narcissists are often involved in litigation. On the one hand, they will use litigation as a means of asserting control over people, to draw fuel by way of reactions and attain residual benefits. Wealthy narcissists are often frequently litigious, utilizing their economic firepower combined with the use of the law to compel people to do things, to shut people up, to get their way. In other instances, narcissists find themselves involved in litigation as a consequence of criminal behavior, breaching contracts, reneging on agreements, committing tortious acts, whatever it might be, because their sense of entitlement and lack of accountability and absence of emotional empathy and focus on acting in the moment causes them to do certain things in pursuit of the prime aims, which has legal repercussions. This One's Wife, as you know, is no stranger to utilizing litigation for the purposes of getting her own way, but has found herself on the receiving end of litigation brought by her estranged half-sister, Samantha Markle, who launched a defamation suit some time ago and found that the judge was not with her and dismissed the claim, which has resulted in Samantha Markle deciding that she wants to appeal that decision. Now, the motivations of Samantha Markle might be that she feels genuinely wronged by the behaviour of her half-sister and that she has suffered loss and therefore believes that going to the law is an appropriate response. It might be that she doesn't necessarily have any financial loss, but doesn't like the way that her half-sister behaves and wants to do something about it, and is utilising the law to make a point. It might be that she is in effect on the grift, just like other members of her family, and that all of the apples did not fall far from the tree with regard to the behaviour of trying to get something for nothing amongst the Markle clan. I'll leave it up to you to make a determination as to where you think the motivations of Samantha Markle lie. But what about the appeal? Well, according to Courthouse News Service, an 11th Circuit panel appeared ready on Tuesday to douse the fires of a legal feud between this One's Wife and her estranged half-sister, with the appellate court's chief judge all but outright refusing to overturn a Florida federal judge's dismissal of the defamation claims against this One's Wife. Doesn't look good for Samantha Markle. Let's find out more. US District Judge Charlene Honeywell dismissed Samantha Markle's lawsuit against this One's Wife last year, which naturally would find favour with this One's Wife because it nullified a threat to control. The judge found that the statements that were made by this One's Wife during her 2021 Oprah Winfrey interview and 2022 Harry and This One's Wife Netflix docuseries were neither explicitly nor impliedly defamatory. The statements complained of include this One's Wife telling Winfrey about her relationship with her older half-sister. "You're telling people you raised me, and I don't remember seeing her when I was a kid at my dad's house, if and when they would come around." Pausing there, it struck me at the time, and has continued to be the case, that this is a rather tenuous lawsuit. It's not like this One's Wife has turned around and said, "My half-sister is a bitch, a thief, a meth addict, and a whore." Clear insults which are inapplicable. But instead, what's being complained about is her recollection that she didn't see her half-sister that much or at all. It's her recollection. Now, as we know, she revises history, but I think that a court would have to work very hard to suggest that an opinion based upon a recollection was defamatory in that way. Seems to me that it's a rather speculative lawsuit. But let's learn more. Apparently, Samantha Markle also objected to statements social media analyst Christopher Boozy made during the Netflix series, implying she spread hateful misinformation about her sibling on Twitter. That would seem to me to be more actionable, although, of course, the defendant there would presumably be Christopher Boozy, although there might be a case to be made that given the fact that those comments were aired in relation to this one's wife's docuseries, that she potentially might be a defendant. An attorney for Samantha Markle told the panel that while the statements may be individually lawful, they came together for a result that is impliedly defamatory. If someone had a manual on how you hurt somebody and escaped the liability of having a claim against you for defamation, this is the case, Peter Ticktin of the Ticktin Law Group, who represents Samantha Markle, said. It's a smorgasbord of every single kind of way of avoiding liability, all mixed in one, and the whole purpose was to actually destroy Samantha Markle. Well, again, I think it's putting it rather high to suggest those comments represent a smorgasbord of every single kind of way of avoiding liability. I also think that if you're seeking to destroy someone, there's a lot more that you could say and do beyond what's being complained about here. But that's the way that Samantha Markle sees it. Make of that what you will. However, Chief US Circuit Judge William Pryor suggested that the panel was legally bound to uphold the dismissal of the case because Samantha Markle's attorneys failed to challenge Honeywell's finding that the statements at issue are protected opinions. That determination is an alternative holding that was not attacked in their filings to the appeals court, the judge pointed out. It seems to me that everything you argue about is beside the point, Pryor said, because when the district court rules, you have to knock down in your opening brief every basis for the district court's ruling, and you didn't even touch this. Honeywell, the original judge, ruled that every statement in the lawsuit was non-actionable, either because it is a protected opinion, substantially true based on judicially noticed evidence, not capable of being considered defamatory, or because the plaintiff was precluded from meeting the actual malice standard because the statement in question was presented together with the plaintiff's version of events. Pretty wholesale knockdown of the arguments of Samantha Markle, it has to be said. Ticktin, her lawyer, asked the panel to overturn the decision anyway, saying, "The fact that there's an opinion doesn't mean the underlying harm isn't there." Samantha Markle's attorneys have argued in filings to the 11th Circuit that the statements implied their client is a lying, racist fame seeker who is out to harm this one's wife and capitalise on that harm caused, and resulted in her receiving death threats. Again, I think you're going to have to work very hard from the statements complained of to somehow imply this is a suggestion that Samantha Markle is a lying racist fame seeker. US Circuit Judge Nancy Abudo appeared to agree with Pryor, asking Ticktin how he could get around the procedural issue. Ticktin acknowledged it was a problem, saying, "If we'd have thought this thing through a little better in the first place, instead of chasing after all the different aspects of the case, we fell into the trap. We played into their hands of what it was that was the basis of this defamation." Attorney Michael Kump of Kinsella Holly Isa Kump Steinsapier, trips off the tongue, who represents this one's wife, told the panel his client was being sued solely on a convoluted theory of vicarious liability and urged the judges to uphold the lower court's ruling. Kump also argued that there is no evidence suggesting his client, who helped produce the Netflix series, should have doubted Boozy's statements, which included claims that Samantha Markle's Twitter account was suspended for spreading misinformation and that she had 11 additional accounts. The plaintiff, in her opening appeal brief, heralds Mr. Boozy as one of the foremost experts on hate groups operating on Twitter and an expert in cyberbullying and online hate groups. Kump said, in other words, even the plaintiff recognises that Mr. Boozy is trustworthy. Oh dear. The contents of her own brief coming back to bite her on the backside. Kump reminded the panel that the Netflix series included a statement from Samantha Markle's attorney noting her Twitter account was never suspended but was instead hacked, resulting in imposter accounts made by third parties to defame the Duchess of Sussex. So that's where it's got to. The judgment hasn't been handed down, but it's not looking particularly good for Samantha Markle's attempt to overturn the dismissal of her claim at first instance. And if this one's wife is bothering her flat ass to watch these proceedings or have feedback from her attorney, she no doubt is feeling rather smug at this juncture, as it would appear that she is in the driving seat. Once again, the narcissist escaping liability for a legal case, although it has to be said it has never struck me as the strongest one that has been brought in the first place. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.